episode of the Geek Bytes podcast. This is episode number 131. That's right, folks. Every single podcast, myself, Ramon, Mejia, and this guy,
Edgardo, Acosta,
bring you the roundup of the week's Geek and Tech news. We'll discuss that news, and of course, absolutely anything else that we happen to be interested in that week. And this week, we're going to be talking about some stuff I forgot to include in the show notes, but it's going to include rumors about the new Apple phone, the iPhone X, I believe it's going to be called.
some Marvel, some DC, some equipment. Oh my God, so much good stuff. And of course, right now, the biggest thing, depending on what part of the world you are, hope you're dry, hope you're safe, because Mother Nature is a bitch right now.
Absolutely.
There's earthquakes, there's hurricane after hurricane after hurricane. Stay safe out there, man.
Yep, stay safe. We have some interesting, touching stories regarding Hurricane Irma as well. Celebrities doing the right thing. So we'll get into that in a moment. But first, we start the show, of course, with geek news. Oh, and before I forget, I totally forgot to. We have a new supporter on Patreon, David Willamarth.
Dave!
Absolutely amazing guy. He's
Love
happy
you.
to support the podcast for a whole $18 a month.
Hey, man.
So that's significant money over the course of the year. So he's a very generous gentleman. I want to make sure we give him the credit and props that he's due,
totally.
being a supporter of the podcast, both this one and the Little RPG podcast. So thanks a lot, Dave, for helping us cover the costs of the show. You're a great guy. There you go.
Fuck, you're a great guy. I love you, Dave.
there you go.
Oh, I'm gonna put this ring on that hand. That's how much I love you. All right.
So we're going to move on to, of course, the geek news section. We're going to begin with the Apple rumors. The Golden Master Build, which sounds dirtier than it probably is, has been revealed for the new iPhone. It for iOS 11. And some very smart people have been going over the information leaks that are there, and they come up with some very interesting scenarios. I mean, you don't really have too long to wait. Apple's going to do an actual event on September the 12th, which is where this is all going to be officially announced. So there's not a lot that you have to wait for, but some stuff about the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 8 Plus, which is going to be mysteriously called the iPhone X for some reason, is there in the details. And so if you don't want these spoilers, you can skip ahead on the show or just like put the mute button on the live broadcast if that's what you guys want to do. But some of the features include a new portrait mode, which supports different lighting effects from your phone. So this is more something that has been in the past kind of been limited to professionals who do photography and have a bunch of different light styles and filters that they add into the lighting, including contour light, natural light, stage light mono, and studio light. Stage light mono seems like something models give photographers, like during a session. But yeah, to get mono. But these, like I said, these are very interesting options, and I feel like these are just last little grasps on trying to make the iPhone different from other phones. Like, oh, look, we have better lighting options.
It's pretty much to make the ultimate selfie.
Yeah. And I guess that's probably what they're going
upgrades.
for. Of more interest to me, though, is Apple replacing Touch ID, which is the fingerprint scanner, with Face ID. And so users will be able to unlock their phones by looking at the camera. There are also tech rumors that say that the same technology will be applied towards confirming purchases on iTunes and Apple stores. So instead of like you scanning your phone or scanning your fingerprint to allow access to these security features or your 1Password, whatever, it'll look at your face and it'll determine if you are you from your face scan. So that does, in a way, also incorporate 3D scanning technology. So that is for me the most exciting portion of this announcement.
You know me, I'm Mr. Bring Down. Pros and cons. I see pros and cons. Flip that coin. So, what's going to stop somebody from just obviously taking a picture of you or whatnot?
Well, it's supposed to be a 3D face scan, so it's not supposed to be able to recognize just a
so
flat
you have
image.
to actually
Yeah.
okay.
Apparently, that's part of setting it up, is that you actually turn your face left and right so they can actually scan your entire face.
Okay.
And then create a 3D map of it.
Okay, because I've done this thing. Well, and a couple friends have done this thing on. I think it's Snapchat. You know how when you have two people on, and you switch your faces and whatnot. But my friend has done that actually with holding a magazine, and the magazine cover. And
it just recognizes the flat features, and that's absolutely right. And that's another thing that the phone's doing. It's actually going to create 3D emojis based upon your face and your expressions. So you can have a whole new level of like different customized emojis apparently on this particular Apple phone.
So a 3D version of that purple eggplant.
So yeah, Emily has your face and your smile, or whatever you want to do to that eggplant. No, I'm not going to judge.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. I've always wondered how I've noticed with some of the cameras. I guess it's now the 3D imaging is the thing, because when you flipped on the backside, before it was just obviously a single lens picture. If anything, you might have the little flashlight and whatnot. But now I'm seeing like dual lenses. So
oh no, yeah, dual multi cameras in there for like different kind of things, like wide angle lenses, short angle lenses, and different film things. I'm like, oh yeah, these phones are getting super good in camera, because mostly that's only the only thing they can kind of upgrade until like chip manufacturers or kind of improve things. Like we've kind of hit a wall as far as cell phones go, and so they're trying to explore different ways of making these phones justifiable in spending $1,000, which is what the rumor is it's going to cost for a new iPhone, the iPhone X, a whole $1,000 for a new phone. And so adding things like 3D scanning or lenses and facial recognition, because they can't add. I mean, everybody's essentially equal about the processing speed and memory that they can add to the phones at this point. So Apple needs something to kind of differentiate them, and this is what they're kind of betting on.
Yeah, to me, don't get me wrong, the concept of the upgrades is fine,
right?
But to me, it's more of the service issues now. It's becoming more of a thing, because there's, of course...
Well, that's not something Apple... I mean, like, tell me what you mean by service.
Well, service, because anytime when you're eventually... Especially when you're doing a live broadcast like as we're doing right now, but obviously we're taking advantage of the local Wi-Fi that we're at.
Right.
But when you're out in the fields, out your whatever's... You know,
like reliability of like service. Okay, well, I don't think Apple has anything to do with that directly. Yeah. It's more along like the carriers that do that, right?
Yeah, because every once in a while I've seen it. If you have a good quality right now, hopefully your picture that you guys are receiving right now is nice, sharp, and clean. But there's other ones that are very pixelated. It looks like just really bad porn or something, and it's just... I don't know if that's more... I think that should be more of a service.
That's a carrier thing. Then that there's not as much competition to force them to improve services. That is, I think the biggest new competitor that's coming to the market as far as that side of it goes is probably Google. Like Google Fi is probably the biggest competitor to a lot of marketplaces. But other than like them, there's only like a couple in each area. Like even in our area, we're not like living in the boonies. There are probably 2 or 3 people you can choose from, and that's kind of it.
But now that I'm thinking about it,
but in like places like Europe or France, England, London, whatever, there's like 20 or 30 choices.
Yeah.
And so there's a heck of a lot more competition, kind of forcing innovation.
How about this just popped in my head right now? Can you imagine if the next upgrade stepwise, if you want, for the iPhone is being its own service provider?
Like Apple doing their own thing?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a huge investment of time and resources. I don't know if Apple wants to get into that, because they don't. I don't know that they gain much from it. I mean, Google sort of does, because most of the money they come from is from information gathering. Yes. Data mining from like Google searches, advertising, things like that. So it makes sense for them to own the pipes that information travels through, and to give people a competitive edge, or kind of prefer their service over someone else's. But Apple doesn't make the majority of the money from those same type of services. So I don't know. I mean, I like the idea. If I have more competition, I just don't think Apple's going to do it, because I don't see it benefiting them as much as it would cost them. Because, I mean, to be a service provider, telecom provider, essentially, it's a huge hassle. It's a huge investment of money. I mean, you got to start buying landlines, or either providing or installing new ones, satellite stuff, and like it's a huge move. And not that Apple doesn't have the money, but like the cost to benefit ratio, I'm like, I don't know.
Do we really want to do this?
Yeah, like they're barely Apple's not known for being super risky. Like they're known for, this is a proven technology. We're going to make it better and streamlined and incorporate it into our services now, so that we're the best at it. Like they didn't come up with the MP3 player. They perfected it.
Yeah.
Same thing with the phone. They didn't come up with the cell phone. There's a lot of other cell phones came out, but they're the first ones, not even touchscreens, but they're the ones who perfected it and marketed the hell of it and made it something that people just loved and wanted. And
exactly.
So, yeah, that's what I think. So there you go. Okay, next story.
All right, shut up and take my money. According to Deadline, the original cast and show creator Matt Groening has recorded a 42-minute audio-only show that will be available as a podcast on September 14th via thenerdist.com, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Last year, I cornered the two fine gentlemen, Matt Groening and David X. Cohen, and pitched the idea of doing a new Futurama episode as a podcast radio play because it is one of my favorite things and I need more of it. Nerdist Chris Hardwick said via Deadline, "Today I'm drooling with unfiltered joy that it's actually happening. B, I got to voice the villain, Klaxon? Klaxon, okay. And C, I'm freaking a head in a jar in Futurama, Worlds of Tomorrow, a game I've been feverishly playing since it came out." Is that like a mobile game or something?
Yeah, it's a mobile game that's supposed to be coming out pretty soon.
Oh. Okay.
It's been in the making for a while, so looking forward to it. But also, there's a new episode of the show. And if this is the only way we can kind of get it, I'm okay with that. Because I know animation takes a lot of money to make.
Fans will do it.
They will, but it's going to be crappy. And I mean, literally, if it's one person doing it, that'll take like 5 years to come up with a single episode. And so getting the radio drama version of this is the first step, because then from there, people can do their own animations. The same way they kind of do with Smodco. Yeah. And they've taken the podcast and some smart dude with the right equipment does like animations for it.
But I love the voice actors, though. There's been a couple ones, especially done by the Nerdist. There was one episode or one thing that they recorded where they got the 4 original voices of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and did the episode of the bet of Seinfeld about the masturbating.
Right.
So it was funny hearing, obviously, Leonardo and all
they've
that.
done a bunch of, like, because the Nerdist has done table reads with a bunch of voiceover artists, including like Batman and the Joker and Yakko's voice, and like kind of mix and match them. I think there was one where Kevin Conroy and the guy who does the voice for Yakko from Animaniacs, he was playing the Joker, I think, and so they were doing back and forth of like, oh, this is like this scene. It was like the scene from The Dark Knight, I think it was. Oh, that's what they were doing, but it's like very creative stuff.
The Yakko being the Joker, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so it was very interesting kind of animation voiceover work, and it was really fun if you're a fan of any of those voiceover artists or any of those intellectual properties. But it does not surprise me that Chris Hardwick was able to convince all of the original cast to get back together to do this thing essentially for free. I doubt that anybody's really getting paid to do this. It's just like, a fun thing to do this new episode, and there's a sample floating around online for this episode. It's going to come out not too long, but it's really fun and interesting just to like hear those characters together again.
Oh yeah, some of those voice actors, like I think we saw a couple documentaries where it's like voice actors are the most famous people you will never know.
Yeah, by face.
Exactly.
But until you hear their voice, you're like, Yakko, where are you? Exactly. Yeah. It was the same thing when we were at Dragon Con. People were looking for specific booths, but then they came like, "Hey, I know you that book," but they don't know like the author's face for the same reason.
Got that classy,
Yeah, authors aren't the most like there are authors that I love that I've never seen in real life, like or seen pictures of. Like if I asked you to tell me what Stephen King looks like, you might be able to. He's famous.
He's now been exposed more,
like Patrick Rothfuss or the guy who writes the Dresden Files, or Iron Druid series, or
I didn't even know what Shel Silverstein looked like until I saw a picture of him. Right, creepy looking dude.
Who writes 50 Shades of Grey? Very famous book, right? What's the author look like?
It's a chick, right?
Who knows? See, exactly. You wouldn't even know their gender at this point. Yeah. But that's kind of the same thing with like authors, apparently. Like their works and you love them, but you might not recognize their face unless they're put their picture on the back of the cover. And even then, it's like a 10-year-old picture of like when they were super thin.
In their prime, like I said, have that really classy chin resting on their fists, kind of.
Yeah, I have my chin resting on my hand resting on my third chin.
Yeah. But as for this video, I want to see it, of course. I love these voices. I love any kind of mashup on it. One thing though, it's always kind of been a little iffy. The only way you might get certain actors that won't do things is because of their, I guess, contracts that they have with whatever company working. So you might not hear a legal version of Disney characters talking nasty because of morality clauses. No,
but you'll hear their character voices do weird and strange things, like for like on live shows, like radio programming or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. I mean,
because the funniest thing that I've heard of a character, and of course it wasn't a legal version or some
Like nothing Disney approved.
nothing Disney approved,
Yeah.
of course, was a sound of Donald Duck masturbating,
Yeah.
which to me was hilarious. But part of me which was that creative that I would take
It's not something you
that
want
voice
to show
and do
your
an
kids.
anime.
Like, Dad, why is he sound like he's in pain? What's wrong with him? That raises a bunch of questions that
Yeah.
Disney doesn't want your kids to have to
Like
answer.
he's trying to jump over Daisy, but it seems he can't quite get over.
Yeah, there you go. That's a conversation you want to have with the kids.
Exactly.
Okay, next story, slightly happier, also with some voice talent.
And Disney.
Yep, and including Disney. So don't sue us, please. This is a nice story. Josh Gad is crediting his Frozen coaster, Kristen Bell, with helping his family stay safe as Hurricane Irma approaches. The Beauty and the Beast stars 36 express thanks to Bell, who is 37. Why that's part of the story, I don't know. On social media, actress helped his family in the midst of Hurricane Irma. She was apparently able to get his entire family into a hotel out of the hurricane. So in Florida. So it's very nice. Apparently, her and her husband are also stranded in Florida, and Josh Grad's family happened to be in the area as well, and she shepherded them in and got them a cab and got them into a safe place. And so that's very nice and generous of her to do so, especially since she's super famous, and risking her life is probably not something she has to do.
Because right now there's a lot of things going on, and with Irma, right? Once again, they are being tackled by one right after another hurricane. It's wiped out a couple islands.
Yes, at this point.
To the point that
there was one that came before it, and then Irma's coming right on the heels of it, and there's another one on the way behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is very odd, but it's also not unexpected according to climate scientists.
According to the pictures that I've seen, a lot of people, have you seen The Day After Tomorrow?
Oh yeah, the same picture shot.
Yeah,
of like, oh, this is.
They're saying it's very similar to that. I'm like, oh my god, it's happening. I thought it was just a movie. But a majority, I don't know if the whole state of Florida got evacuated, but so many people are just pretty much literally heading for the higher hills.
Right.
I had a friend that she literally just went to Florida a day or two before Irma was hitting. It was hitting the theme parks. Was going like the Disney, Universal Studios.
I think they closed down the park though, didn't they?
They closed down sections of it, certain ones. Of course, like anywhere that there's like wild animals, like the zoos, they're packing them up, putting them in shelters. But even Disney itself had actually bring down some of the spires or spears or whatever you call them off the towers of the castle.
Oh yeah, I see it was flying around. Yeah.
Oh, because it was bad. It was bad. But thankfully she's safe. She's out in Georgia right now, visiting Washington. Doing her touristy thing. But everywhere else, I can only imagine what they're going through. I've been catching things, of course, on the news and whatnot. There are some places where they're expecting anywhere from 5 to 10 feet of water.
Yes.
Not
already,
inches of rain,
yeah,
but feet of water.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the other biggest thing that's happening in the world is close to Mexico City was it like an 8.5 earthquake. Then they were also having a tsunami warning of that possibly.
Other tsunamis in other parts of the world as well, including like India, where like thousands of people have died from flooding, and like so there's a lot of bad things happening around the world,
world's
which is
pissed.
Yes,
and pretty much
this is like movie apocalypse kind of stuff happening,
and pretty much Al Gore's like, I told you guys, suck it.
There you go. But it's good that nice people are still helping each other and being humans, and actually working together to help each other. So this is one of those examples where famous people got out of their own egos, out of their way to do things for nice people. So there you go. Now speaking of Disney, we have our next story. I think this one is your turn, right?
Oh, I'll do it. Sure, why not? The announcement that Disney is launching its own streaming service sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry as the new venture came out to the what? There's always that one word.
The caveat.
Caveat.
Yep.
I'm gonna have a separate window that's gonna have like the
word check and spell. Yeah.
Word check combination speak and spell kind of thing.
You just like press the bunches. Caveat.
Yeah. All right. So let me continue. Caveat that Disney was pulling its content from Netflix in 2019. What was uncertain was whether that mandate include content from Disney's Marvel and Lucasfilm brands, but now we have the official answer on that front. Deadline reports that Disney has decided to pull both Marvel and Star Wars content from Netflix in 2019, as was revealed by a Disney CEO, Bob Iger. Bob Iger in the most recent investor meeting. According to Iger, the plan for Disney's streaming service is we're going to launch big and we're going to launch hot. He added that the app will have the entire output of the studio, animation, live action, and Disney. And Disney, including Pixar, Star Wars, and all the Marvel films. The library includes exclusively offering the full lineup of Disney properties on the service. That's around 500 films and 7,000 episodes, in addition to the 4 or 5 original TV series and 3 or 4 original movies. An expansive lineup of short form content is also expected, and the digital service will be used as the exclusive distribution platform for low budgeted films, so no more risky theatrical premieres.
Right. There you go. Okay. So basically, Netflix is leaving Star Wars and Marvel films, which is sad to see. It's kind of expected, unless Netflix counter offer that with like gobs of money, which they're not known to do. They're more likely to invest that money into new original properties that they can actually own. This was inevitably going to happen. I'm not sure if that also means the Netflix Marvel properties like Iron Fist, Daredevil, The Defenders. I don't know if they co-own them in some way, shape, or form, but it seems like they were created for Netflix. I don't know what that contracted, but definitely the movies. All those Marvel movies you like on Netflix, gone in a couple of years. Same thing with any of the Star Wars stuff, including the new stuff that's coming out. But up until then, you're going to get all that stuff on Netflix. Like, they're guaranteed that in a contract, so you have a couple years to enjoy it, and then maybe you'll have to sign up for a Disney thing to get all that stuff. But there's a lot of additional content that's also coming out from them. I mean, all those movies, all those animated shorts.
Oh yeah.
We talked about this before. Like, it makes sense for them to put it in that library and just let people binge the heck out of it for the low price of $1 million, all your monies.
Seriously, we talked about it before. They have so much in their archives that they haven't now. That the whole, I called it the Vault Disney.
Yeah.
Channel. Hopefully, I'm not sure exactly
all
what's
those animated films, all those TV movies, all those live action stuff. I mean, even all those old shorts that that I personally love. I think we talked about how much we pay for it. I think you were like $19.95 or something
for a DVD.
Like the streaming stuff. Like how much would you pay for?
Yeah.
I'm sure people would be more than happy to spend $20-$30 for the Disney library collection, because people spend hundreds of dollars at Disneyland every year, or just buying merch, and so there's a huge fan base for it. So I don't doubt that they might even have like different tiered options of like, oh, you get extra bonus content for your firstborn child, and somebody will pay it.
Oh, seriously, because I've been paying, especially if you own any kind of Disney movies, buying them on DVD, even if you get the digital download version of it, you're still paying $20 minimum for it. Then, of course, if you want to get the all upgrades, which, yes, you have your little library of collection of DVDs, but even that, with a lot of people, those are slowly disappearing, because what's the point of me having hard copies of stuff, because I could visually get access digitally via my computer, via my smart TV, via my what have you. So I don't know if that's going to put a little bit of a hurt on them, but if you're going to be paying $10 to $20 a month regularly to have access at almost any time you want,
right,
people are not going to complain.
Yeah.
My thing is, the only part that I'm going to question is, since they do own ABC, depending if they're going to get any of those channels also, those shows on their app, if you will, because they do own Touchstone and Buena Vista and other.
I want to say they're going to go with, unless it's like a family-friendly section, probably Disney. Well, I guess you can't say that either. It's just Disney stuff, but no, they're going to include Star Wars and Marvel, so maybe so. They might throw those other titles in there.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it. Wonder what the whole setup, if you're just going to see like whole like Mickey Mouse outline kind of deal, or
No, I'm sure they're just going to make whatever money. Disney's invested in all these properties, so they're going to use them to make as much money as possible.
So if you want all that D, you're going to pay for the D.
Yep, you always have to pay for it in one shape or another. Okay, on to our next story. It is Star Wars Episode 9. We know Episode 8 is coming out this year, in December, I believe it is. And Episode 9 is supposed to be filming. Unfortunately, it's not, because they lost their director. Intergalactic Speed Bump has been hit by the profile because they lost the director, Colin Trevorrow, who sounds like a fake name. Trevorrow? Yeah. It's like
Tomorrow
Trevor and Tomorrow. Yeah. They've lost him as a director, apparently. The rumor is that he was being very difficult and opinionated on set. But this is not the first director that Star Wars or Disney has lost recently. They also lost the director for young Han Solo standalone film.
Yeah.
Director Ron Howard is now in that seat to finish up on that project. I'm not sure what they're going to get for this one, but it is kind of up in the air. And this was supposed to come out, I think, in 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be like every 2 years, you're going to hopefully get a main Star Wars film, and then like in between those years, standalone films. Like last year it was Rogue One. Next year is supposed to be the Han Solo standalone film. So there you go.
I wonder if they just want to go with a different approach for each movie to have a different director instead of just keeping the same one the whole time.
I don't know. I'm trying to curious if we're missing on comments anywhere. Nope. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying anything. Nope.
No. New features, new apps. We're like tinkering around with this phone.
Yeah, I'm like, I see the invites. I don't see.
Let's see. Oh,
Slide to reveal comments. Nope. Nobody, I guess.
All right. If you're watching, something, anything.
Yeah, just say hi.
Dot,
We're
emojis,
curious to
what
see how
have
this
you.
works. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so they lost the director, which is sad, but I'm kind of curious to see who they get to replace him, because I'm sure that there are plenty of people who are more than willing to attach the name to a Star Wars property and say, yeah, I directed the thing, even if like Disney's actually telling them what to do.
Do you think they're going to get an upcoming person or somebody that's already existed? Like,
Well, this guy was the one who did the directing for Jurassic World, and so that's kind of why they picked him, because he was already hot. Then his next film kind of tanked, but apparently the rumor is that his ego did not swell down. Like he's just writing that way of like, I'm correct. I'm a brilliant artist.
I make dinosaur movies. Have you not seen my dinosaur movie?
I made a bunch of money, and so he's very. I mean, which is fine when you're successful, but when you're not all of a sudden. Apparently Disney didn't want to take it anymore, and so they released him for contract, and they're looking for someone else.
Maybe they'll get some of those like oldie guys, like Martin Scorsese or
which
Steven
we'll be talking about in a second. Martin Scorsese doing something else.
Steven Spielberg or that James Cameron guy. I think he's
doing
things.
something. Yeah, he's worked at Disney before.
Yeah, Michael Bay.
A Michael Bay Star Wars film. Lots of lens flare.
Just exploded. Just bright.
I think they're all options. But again, also Disney's hard to work with apparently, because they want a specific thing because they're apparently trying to do the Marvel thing where they're planning everything out ahead, and so there's not a lot of artistic license in certain respects.
Oh yeah.
So that's the other side of that.
Alrighty, well I can't wait to see what's gonna come out. But all right, speaking of more Disney related stuff, if you're a fan of pirates, guess what? No more pirates.
Possibly.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man Tell No Tales was probably the weakest entry in the franchise, with a weak story as well as a tired performance from Johnny Depp. Producer Jerry Bruckheimer, however, is still positive about continuing the franchise and says there's a potential for a sixth film. Talking to Yahoo Movies, Bruckheimer says that the Pirates of the Caribbean 6 happening will be dependent on home sales of the Dead Man Tell No Tales DVD, Blu-ray sales in general. Whoever's ever buying it. He explains, "Well, I hope to continue to make it, but we've been having so much fun just promoting this one right now. We'll just have to wait to hopefully see it successful on DVD as well as other ones have been. Then hopefully we'll sit down and see where we go."
So basically, you may be losing all your Pirates of the Caribbean licensing or movies, depending on how much money they make. Because this one didn't do so amazingly as well as the last ones, I should say. So if they make enough money either on home video, so a lot of times it's happened that movies that have tanked at the theater do amazing on digital download or on DVD and Blu-ray sales, whether it's here or in another market, international market, I should say. So it may be that this is one of those films. I mean, that's kind of the way it was for a lot of the Clerk films and the Smodco stuff. They didn't do amazing in theaters, but they found an audience in the home market, so you never know.
Yeah, because remember there was a time where they were talking about making keeping the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, but going like prequel, like the young stories of young Jack
Sparrow.
Yeah, young Jack Sparrow. There's actually a couple books on that. Other than did you watch the Dead Man Tell No Tales?
I don't think that I did. I think I stopped a couple movies ago, and I don't regret it. I'm like they don't seem that amazing to me. Like I'm not a huge fan of pirate films in the first place.
I am.
As you can see from his pirate beard, and my lack of of one, so it was kind of an issue for me in the first place.
Because of facial hair?
No, it's just like I don't find water battles interesting. You know,
To me, if it's done right, done right.
I'm like the land battles, the piratey are, you know, Johnny Depp is very entertaining, but that period of time and sea battles has never really appealed to me. Like, that seems boring. Give me rockets and explosions and machine guns. That's much more.
But on a boat,
those aren't on boats. They're cannons. They're swashbuckling sword fighters and guys in loose fitting clothing that look dirty. Like, just not as appealing to me.
I think you need to, depending on which was the last movie that you did watch, I say you need to give it a chance for the other ones.
You know, I'm okay. I'll skip it. I mean, I
Cliff Notes.
It's okay. I don't need to watch. I mean, I've seen the first ones. I have an opinion about it. It's not like I don't think that they're good for some people. I'm like, they're just not that amazing for me. I prefer a good sci-fi film over a good pirate film.
What was this thing that I saw that they considered Star Wars supposed to be a Western?
Sort of. Although it's like a Western sci-fi samurai fantasy.
Yeah.
In space. I mean, maybe it has some like Western themes.
Yeah.
Of like a poor kid from the farm trying to get revenge for his father's death, which sounds very Westerny.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
you killed my pa.
Yeah. Instead of pa, he's yeah. You have the rogue gunslinger.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are definitely feelings of the Western, but also the samurai feel, and a lot of like magical sorcerer stuff, just set in space.
Sure, I get
that's essentially what the Force is. It's magic power, and lightning spells.
Yeah.
Roll D20.
Well, my thing with the Pirates film, I think they covered a majority of anything that's related with anything nautical. You already got your sea monsters. You covered the mermaids.
Yep.
You covered the Fountain of Youth, international kind of stuff.
Like
unless they go into space.
I would watch that. I would watch Johnny Depp's Pirates of the Caribbean in space. Yeah, absolutely. I would just for the hilarity. I mean, they threw Jason and Freddy Krueger in space. I mean, why not?
True.
I mean, yeah. So in space is not the worst thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Next to it, a couple more bits here, including
Marvel stuff.
Yeah, just a couple photos that showed up here. Apparently, Misty Knight and Luke Cage showed up in Entertainment Weekly with a photo from set showing that she gets her famed bionic arm in season 2 of Luke Cage, which most of us were expecting. This one doesn't look super fancy though. Like maybe they're going to CGI it up, but from in the photo, it looks pretty low tech. I was expecting something shiny, like from the comics, but they like to tone things down sometimes in these.
Well, to simplify
films,
it for film purposes, because I didn't know much about her. Like, I didn't know she was getting a quote unquote bionic arm.
Yeah. Once she's like Misty Knight and like the Asian chick apparently are a crime fighting team partner in the comics. You look them up, and apparently the Asian chick is not Asian in the comic. Yeah, exactly. She's like how Elektra's
white girl,
not exactly Asian in the comics all the time. Same kind of deal.
Well, with bionic arms, at least with my history in the Marvel universe, at least in the comics, it's always been that layered kind of strips of metal, like Colossus,
right.
Cable, and of course the Winter Soldier.
This looks more like Luke Skywalker's bionic arm.
Not as elaborate.
Not
even
as
his
fancy,
had
though.
like
Yeah,
the fancy little fingers and stuff, but hers is almost like a lot of plastic molding kind of stuff.
Yeah, it feels very 3D printed.
Yeah,
kind of look to it, which is like, okay, I get it. That's fine. Hopefully it'll get a CGI production overhaul, and it'll look better.
Yeah.
But even if it doesn't, this will be a detective story, because I think she quits the Force and becomes like a private eye or something in the comics, and that's how she deals with specifically like superheroes, power issues, crimes. Maybe that'll do it here. Maybe this will be the beginning of the also superhero crime fighting thing with Luke Cage and Iron Fist, where they're like heroes for hire.
I'm still waiting for that part.
Subgenre kind of thing.
But when you need to be a hero for hire, but you're Danny Rand, multi-billionaire, who needs to hire you?
We're hiring the billionaire.
Exactly. I was like, dude, you could afford to do whatever the hell you want.
Although there were also hints that at the end of Defenders that he's going to try to take over the Daredevil role of like street level crime fighter roaming the rooftops.
Him saying, "I'm Danny Rand."
Yeah, he might also like this might be where he's actually puts on the costume. Like, oh, I'm the Iron Fist, but you can't see my face because it's covered. Yeah, with the yellow headband.
You can't see my
he kind of steals the Daredevil look that he had in Defenders. Anyways, that's off topic. Next picture is photo of Evangelina Lilly in her wasp costume. So
Sexy.
it actually does look pretty cool. Actually, she doesn't have wings here, but that might be CG added in later as well. But it looks nice. Not disappointed with it at all.
Well, then I just realized she has a ponytail. Usually, the wasp character
Has like a pixie cut.
Pixie cut
Because she looks like a pixie.
bob slash, which makes sense. But I'm all like, I don't know how you're gonna roll that and tuck it into that helmet of hers. But
I'm sure they'll have a magic CGI feature. Yeah.
So it looks cool. I didn't, they've obviously when if you saw the Ant-Man movie, both costumes were semi-similar, at least in look wise. So of course I was expecting her to look at. They actually, I think, remember we covered it on D23. They actually had a picture of the wasp
costume and it had wings in there. If I'm not mistaken,
it had wings. It was like, I'm like, oh, here I am.
There's the wasp.
But I didn't see any kind of like tribute or at least a look to the old comic book version or any of the alternative versions that I've seen. Like,
I think they did it in the. They showed off an older version of the wasp costume, like in the first movie, and that one looked like the comic version.
And then there was
and this is the new version apparently. That's supposed to look like Ant-Man's costume.
Yeah, because then there's the semi-prototype one where it was like the outfit was displayed, but she didn't don it.
Right.
So
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Time for some rumor mongering. This is a total rumor for the upcoming Avengers 4 movie. Apparently, according to reliable sources, the Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye character is going to go rogue and going to take on the mantle of a different superhero character. He's apparently going to take on the alter ego. What's his name again? Ronin. Sorry, Ronin. If you're looking at the actual video version, you can actually see what I'm talking about. But this is a sword-wielding samurai character instead of Hawkeye's bow and arrow character, which I actually kind of prefer. I prefer swords over bows and arrows personally, because you don't run out of ammunition, and that's never an issue with swords. But this is an alter ego dark character, and if you follow the comic book version of this, you know that Hawkeye took on this mantle after the events of the original Civil War in the comics when Captain America died. And so there are rumors that something as dark happens in the Infinity War saga that causes the same transformation for this character. So, what do you think?
Very little. I was debating about the Ronin character. I'm like, which Ronin? We're talking Guardians of the Galaxy, Blue-faced Ronin?
I don't think so. No, that's the one. Yeah, he was already an established character.
Yeah.
This is just guy with the same name, samurai vibe, swords. Which is weird because you don't actually see him use bladed weapons in most of the movies.
He'll use his bow somewhat as a staff,
but like using the swords is very different. So I don't know if that's just another hobby of his.
No, I'd rather see the dark version of Daredevil, where he's like the leader of the Hand.
Oh, the Dark Daredevil.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of where I thought it might have gone at the end of the Defenders because they both disappear.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently not. I mean, they at the very end of that series, spoilers, folks, you get to see Matt Murdock in the church hospital with like nuns around, and they call out his mom's name, who is very infamously a nun in the comics.
If anything, with Hawkeye, I thought they'd go the approach of just like in the comic books and him starting off the West Coast Avengers.
Oh, okay. I was hoping they were going to use him to murder the Hulk, like they did in the more recent version of the comics, where he kills Bruce Banner. That's right. Spoilers, folks. Hawkeye murders Bruce Banner, killing the Hulk. Yeah, and there's a new version of the Civil War comic series, which is like Civil War 2, whatever they call it, where it's about like punishing superheroes for some mutant's premonition about them breaking the law or doing bad things. Yep. And so it's a question about whether we have the right to punish people or try to prevent their future actions when they haven't done them now, and to what degree do you go for that? And they've done several hero things like Miles Morales killing Captain America, and the Hulk or Bruce Banner hulking out and like murdering a bunch of people, and the various effects of like trying to prevent that in the future.
Well, the whole concept of not concept, but the whole thing with these actors, I'm like, you got to take advantage of them while you can, because if they get too old, they won't be able to
start murdering people. I mean, at this point, you could kill. I mean, in the comics, they kind of did that with Tony Stark. Mm-hmm. They killed him off, and they restarted him as like Jarvis, like AI for the new Iron Heart girl, the new Iron Woman comic series.
Yeah.
So I think you could kind of do something similar to that with CGI, and like killing off a character but bringing them back as like some virtual assistant.
Yeah.
Because they did that with the last Iron Man movie, wasn't it? Where they had a younger CGI version of him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they can do it now. Why not?
Expensive though.
It might be less expensive than paying him money, a
That's
full
true.
salary. You don't know.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. Next one is slightly rumory as well. I'll have you read that one.
So the DC stuff, yeah. Warner Brothers reportedly plans to use producer Martin Scorsese to lure longtime collaborator Leonardo DiCaprio to play the lead in the in-development Joker origin story movie. The Hollywood Reporter says that the studio would like DiCaprio or another extremely high-profile character to play the Joker as a gritty crime boss in a Scorsese-esque Gotham underworld. However, no offer has been made.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Leonardo DiCaprio being the Joker, or like the guy who becomes the Joker?
I don't think so. Reason being,
Really?
because I think he's changed. Other than him developing the dad bod, if you would.
Well, I mean that's
'cause
easy enough to lose within the gym.
pounds
I
and
mean,
all that. But I've never really seen him as a, unless that's going to be something completely different for him. But even in other movies, I never really seen him as like a mad man.
character.
Yeah.
I think the closest was in that Lighthouse film where he played a detective who was trying to solve a crime, but it turns out he was just a patient there.
Mm-hmm.
That might be the closest thing you can kind of pull from to see how he would do. But you're right. As far as like facially and acting wise, you haven't really seen super crazy. This would be, I think, a nice stretch for him in inhabiting a different role of a character. You've seen him as a gangster before, I believe.
Yeah,
like as a mobster.
He's been in
So
stuff.
he's probably done that. But I don't know that anybody saw Jack Nicholson as the Joker either, or Heath Ledger as like an amazing Joker based upon their past record.
Exactly.
So you can't really always say that he can't do it necessarily. I think it would be challenging, and that might be part of his draw, especially if Martin Scorsese is directing it. That's when you get like super high profile like him. Like you choose your projects not based upon the money they offer, but upon like the people you're working with and the characters you can possibly play a role as. So this might work out for him. Well, but is there anybody else you could see as an origin story for the Joker?
He's too old now, but it would have been perfect for him because they've done mock-ups of him. Willem Dafoe, they've done stuff where they've actually put him side by side.
No, I see the face version of it, William Dafoe. Like he as Ryuk in the Death Note, and also in like Goblin, and just the laugh version of Willem Dafoe. I could see that. He would be more of a comic version of the character, not as like realistic as they've done with the Batman in the past, though.
Yeah. Yeah, because they've done these
I guess
mock-up
you could always
ones.
CGI him, though. CGI him young again.
That's true. Because they've done these awesome mock-ups where they had a picture of him like side-by-side profile, and they did a little editing where they
Especially
airbrushed
with, like,
the makeup
the
on
teeth
him.
in there, yeah.
Oh yeah, he has the grin. He has the jaw. He
has the sharp comic features, basically.
Oh, yeah.
The character features.
And
acting wise, though, I don't know.
Oh yeah, he's played wild characters.
Well, I'm not saying he
like
can do the wildness. I'm just saying like the depth of madness. I don't know that I see it, honestly. I mean, he's done cool characters.
Yes.
I'm not saying he's not, but like the role of the Joker in the DC universe as opposed to Batman, as the foil to Batman, is such a layered depth of a character that I don't know that I see it, because it's not just the wacky crazy stuff. That's very that's very anime stuff. I'm sure he can do great, but it's the more subtle things of the justified view of madness and why he does the crazy thing, and how it makes sense to him in his mind, that you kind of got with Heath Ledger. Like there's just subtle flavors that I'm like, I don't know. I not only can't, but I don't see it in my mind currently. But I see, as far as like facial structures go, yeah, he could do it. I agree with you there.
Actor wise, he's done some great stuff. He could pull off. He's done some roles where he's very serious. The calm and then he just, when you snap out the fingers, the brow starts lifting, his eyes starts going. But like I said, if he was younger, like an upcoming actor, whatever, if you will.
So you want a young William Dafoe? Okay.
Well, especially if you're going to go origin, you have to get somebody young.
You don't have to. The character, the Joker doesn't really age. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't. there's no old man Joker in the comics. You know what I mean? Like there's an old man Bruce Wayne or Batman. There's just the Joker. It's kind of immortalized in that character of like, and he wears makeup, so it's like I don't think that as big of an issue as maybe other people may think it is.
One that could be kind of that could probably turn it on, turn it off too, which it'd be a debatable issue. It'd be like Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey's another guy that's like, you know,
you're right. He's done serious and he also does comic, like facial features. Yeah, I think I could see Jim Carrey doing it too.
Yeah, because remember him in playing even the Riddler in the old Batman, the Val Kilmer one. He was
that
very
was a little
comedic.
comic over the top, and I don't think the Joker is necessarily comedic as much as he is, you know, batshit crazy, and that's not the same thing as being comedic to me. Like the Joker is never a funny character necessarily. He's unintentionally funny sometimes, but he's also just crazy. You know what I mean? Just because he's a clown, I don't know that you want to go the comedy route with the character necessarily. Like there are other people around him that can do the funny shtick, but him as a character, I don't know that that's what I've ever envisioned the Joker as.
Anybody that you would recommend?
No, I don't know that I recommend.
Go Leo.
You could like try out Leo Decaprio. I mean, do a little casting and just release it to the fans and
screen test it.
Yeah, they'll tell you like you want to do a poll like, oh, do his scene with the Joker as the Joker and someone else. I mean, I think that's kind of what they do with Heath Ledger to kind of assure the audience that he was going to do a good job. They leaked, you know, small footage clips of him being in the role, and people were very like, oh, once it saw it, like, oh, I get it. Yeah, that's cool. You know what I mean? So why not do this with Leo and see if it kind of lands with the audience?
Yeah.
Okay. Next story.
Believe it or not.
Yes, I wasn't sure if you've ever actually seen the show, but apparently Deadline is reporting that the cult 1980s show, The Greatest American Hero, is being rebooted again. Not the first time, at ABC. Apparently, it's already been given a pilot version. Now, here's the twist. It's not going to be played by a rich, blonde, white guy who is a substitute teacher. It's going to be played by a 30-year-old Indian-American woman from Cleveland whose talents include drinking tequila and karaokeing and not much else. Like Mindy? Was it Mindy Cleary? That one? I don't know. It could also be some other woman. I don't know.
Oh, that kind of Indian.
Yeah. Well, I guess it could be a Native American, but she wouldn't be called Indian, I think.
Oh, only because of the tequila part. That's why I was
wondering. Oh, you're like,
like, really? You're going to stereotype the firewater drinking Indian?
Guys. Yeah, apparently it's going to be directed by the Fresh Off the Boats, Racha Fuchbom. And again, pilot deal, so we're going to get at least one episode on the air as a half-an-hour single-camera sitcom, which is much shorter than I think the actual episodes were for the original. So, have you seen this show before?
Long time ago.
Okay.
I saw the clips once again, and the song is what really stuck out for the
right. That thing's
people.
Like stood out for like right.
You know, like even the song kind of really doesn't go with the intro because it's part of it. That was its theme, but it was very catchy. The song itself was so catchy.
Yeah. It's a little more poppy than the actual television show.
Yeah, the show itself was pretty bad. I was like, honestly,
I don't know. I've never seen it before. I mean, I've seen clips of it. But then I went on YouTube once I saw the story to watch the first pilot episode. I'm like, this is a weird television show. Like the beginning of it opens as like with this black guy being hunted down by the Ku Klux Klan. And then being murdered, and he's an FBI agent. And then the main character, this blonde, curly-haired white guy, is a substitute teacher in an inner city. And so there's like this Mr. Carter aspect to it of like trying to educate the poor, troublesome kids who were apparently in special ed. And that was special education back then, just the troublemakers. And then they all go to the desert for some reason on a field trip that they never show in the actual episode. And space aliens come and give this guy a costume that turns him into a superhero. But then he also has to work with a drunk FBI agent to like solve crimes. And that's just the end of episode 1, and then episode 2 pulls into like, oh, he's also a single dad who's trying to keep custody of his kid, and so they're pulling on like some really interesting themes of like real world, I guess, stuff, and then mushing it with a superhero. And like apparently every episode is like, oh, he's trying to figure out how his suit works because he lost the manual, and I'm like, okay, that's.
Oh my god.
It's a show. It's an attempt at a superhero thing, and it lasted a little while, so I can't say that it doesn't work. I could see how the same aspects lend themselves to comedy. and it's a situational comedy for a television show. So why not? Especially in the age of like where Marvel and DC are actual viable, profitable properties. And there's the DC CW and the Netflix show. So somebody's like, "Oh, I own this property. Let's try this." So why not?
The whole writing process, I could only imagine how that went down. Where it's just like they probably have like a pot and everybody just throw your ideas. That's the script.
That's the script. And that was just a weird show. But I'm like, okay, I guess I see the appeal. I like the superhero stuff. The rest of it's like, oh, other popular things at the time were like, oh, let's try Mr. Carter. He's popular. Let's try the single dad aspect. He can't be, can't just be some dude.
Honestly, looking at him, because especially if they wanted to get somebody that donned the same look or whatever, they should have got the Danny Rand guy, because he has a short little curly.
No, I'm happy that they went with some other ethnicity, because honestly, him being a superhero and being white, I'm like, that's double superpower practically. That's not necessary.
The major, what do you call it, the superior race or whatever.
Oh, that's so weird. Like, you have like the Ku Klux Klan Nazi guys in the first episode, and like the intro. I'm like, that's
how you grab the fan base. We got to get the white supremacists.
Like that is some ballsy moves. I mean, you can't say that this pilot and these writers didn't take chances though. Like there's some weird stuff in there that I don't think modern scriptwriters would have even tried out. So you got to give them credit for at least that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking about one more story.
Yeah.
You have this one, man.
Sure. Hey kids, you like Die Hard? You like Christmas? Christmas books? Well, guess what? Die Hard is easily one of the best Christmas movies that's ever been made, and it may be an unconventional Christmas movie that you can't really watch with your kids. But that didn't stop the comedian Doogie Horner from taking the story and turning it into a children's Christmas book. A Die Hard Christmas, the illustrated holiday classic, was written by Horner and illustrated by J.J. Horner. It was inspired by the classic Christmas poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," only instead of telling the story of Santa's attempts to deliver presents to kids, the book tells the classic tale of the New York police officer single-handedly takes down a gang of European terrorists who have taken hostages at the Nakatomi Plaza. Here's the book description. A delightful Christmas tale based on an action-packed Die Hard movie. All John McClane wants for Christmas is to reunite with his estranged family, but when his wife's office holiday party turns out into a deadly hostage situation, he has to save her life before he can get home in time for Christmas. The unconventional fan-favorite movie Die Hard is now an illustrated storybook complete with machine guns, European terrorists, a cop who's forced to rely on his cunning and skills, and the help of a fellow officer to save the day. Based on the classic Night Before Christmas poem and filled with the whimsical illustrations, this cleverly reimagined homage is destined to become a holiday classic.
There you go, folks. So that's a kind of an interesting note to kind of end the show. What do you think of this particular property? Would you buy it for your kid?
I gotta look through it. I wouldn't be against getting it just because the whole concept is hilarious.
I think this would be a great Christmas tradition to have. I mean, I already watch Die Hard every year during Christmas because it's a good holiday film for me. I also watch, a bunch of other films.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the realms of possibilities being entertaining, but I can see like, oh, over the Christmas tale and then the good one, the Die Hard Christmas tale.
My thing is, of course, because especially how if it's actually going to be aimed for kids, will it or will it not have the classic lines like "Yippee ki-yay, motherfucker"?
Well, there's also kids. There's also kids stories that have those intent. Like there's the "Go the F to sleep."
Yeah, go the fuck to sleep.
Yeah,
which was the greatest thing ever because it was actually narrated by Mr. Sam Jackson when they approached them. I'm like, oh my god.
Why not? Yeah. So that'd be. I think this is a great Christmas book to add to your children's library collection. Like, come on, Dad, read me the Die Hard Christmas tale again.
Especially the way it's formatted as a Night Before Christmas.
Yeah.
So I could only mention how it's going to work out because.
Yeah, I think maybe they're publishing the wrong season, but hey, I think whatever.
I love parodies. I love tributes, if you will, because one version that I saw animated, if you will, was the Cleveland show. I don't know if you ever watched the Cleveland show.
I think they did the Die Hard Christmas. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and the whole thing of like Cleveland juniors are like, I killed the kid. So I wonder if that's going to be in it as well. But I want to check it out. I want to give it a try, give it a see. If anything, obviously, just flip through the pages and just give it a shot. And if anything, would be pretty awesome if it becomes that popular, have it, of course, narrated by Mr. Bruce Willis himself. And I think that would make it even awesome.
Hey, why not? He's a singer. He's done voiceover work, so why not?
Yeah.
Okay, we have 2 trailers of the week, and then that'll be in the show, folks. One is Freedom Fighters from the Ray comic. Apparently, it's going to be showing up on the television at some point. This is a weird futurist, like alternate future version of the Justice League with like young superheroes fighting the old Justice League who are Nazis. And that's a weird trailer. The other one is Real Live, which is a movie about someone dying and then being brought back to life, like Frankenstein, but also like their memories being erased or being reprogrammed or whatever. So there's that part of it too.
Yeah.
So you saw them both? Did you check them out?
You know, I actually did. Oh, you know, I did see it. I was trying to like remember until you just showed that little clip right now. Yeah, I did see it. It's an animated.
It actually looks really cool.
Yeah.
We're talking right now about the Freedom Fighters, which is dark, like Nazi Justice League versus like young teenage superheroes.
Yes, and it's very animated in the style of the DC, at least the current DC animated.
And everybody's
styling.
like a little bit different. Like Nova looks the same because he's mostly in costume. But like Hawkeye is doesn't have his battle axe or his mace. Instead, his wings cut through stuff. Apparently.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the modification.
And the tornado looks a lot younger and less robotic.
Yeah. So.
And then like Superman is a woman with like Nazi symbols on her, and she's like a blonde. Obviously a blonde girl.
It's not very power
not
girl,
gonna be
Nazi-ish. Yeah. But I'm gonna definitely check it out because I'm a big fan, of course, of all the animated stuff. So I want to give it a whirl, give it once. Because it was a little hard to me to figure out who was who for some things. Because like I've never seen that Falcon guy before because it reminded me of Falcon from the Marvel stuff. I'm like, is this a crossover?
Well, I was thinking maybe Nightwing or something, like Nightwing with like better powers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm gonna give it a watch. It looks really good. I can only imagine where it's gonna go, but yeah. Soon as it's out, I'm gonna check it out for sure.
Yeah, no, it actually looks cool. It's supposed to be coming out this year, sometime as an actual television show. Like that is a choice, guys. Like I'm happy to watch it. I don't know how well it's gonna do, Nazis on mainstream television, but sure, why not? It's supposed to show
as long as they're the
on
bad
the
guys.
CW Seed apparently, which is either a spin-off channel or just their online thing. So either way, so that's one of them. The other one is again Real Live, which is guy who kills himself. He wakes up alive with like a new body, and people tell him he's the first reanimated person ever. He's a Lazarus. I prefer to think of him as Frankenstein because that's the other guy, famous guy who's been brought back from the dead.
Well, they patch him up together, sew him together, and yes, that is Frankenstein.
Well, no, apparently he's like 3D printed, and then his mind is implanted in the character. It's like whether he keeps his memories or not, whether like I don't know the genetics or whatever, like a genetic memory profile. I don't know, but it has some very Frankenstein themes in there. Like, are we a composite of our memories, or are we our actual experiences? And if they can be downloaded and reprogrammed, does that make them us? Is all
the
that
whole
is us?
Soul?
Is our soul can it be composited into like a digital medium and processed onto other forms, whether it's going to be online or in other bodies?
I think it looks like a really good sci-fi flick. I would definitely check it out. It just be really out there, really random. Just kind of makes you think.
And there was some other stuff out there. There's nothing really geeky. Like there's like the Mom Christmas movie that I thought was kind of cool, but we've seen trailers for that, so these are kind of it.
So it's going to kind of like question ethics, but just depending how open-minded you are on it. So I would definitely check it out.
So other two, which do you like better?
Freedom.
Yeah, me too. Freedom Fighters. So sorry,
I'm sorry.
Freedom Fighters won. That was definitely the better trailer.
I like cartoons.
Just because it's an opportunity to see your favorite superheroes battle your other favorite superheroes in an alternate Nazi-filled universe.
Oh yeah.
So there you go.
So definitely, I'm just waiting for even more animated stuff. I don't think there's anything really coming out wise, other than of course recently that we just saw was the Batman Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else really coming, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. Well, I'm definitely waiting for November for Thor Ragnarok.
Oh yes.
That's the only other Marvel movie I think we have coming out this year. Black Panther comes out next year.
Yeah. So
there you go. Okay, that's it for the show, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us and for geeking out with us. Remember, if you want to support the podcast in any way, shape, or form, you can do so at
geekbytespodcast.com/support.
There you go, folks. But again, thanks for listening and watching for hanging with us for Geek Bytes Podcast. I am Ramon Mejia.
I'm Edgardo Acosta.
And remember, folks, to go geek out about something.